Hey, yo, it's time. It's your girl. Let's go. Hey, yo, it's your girl. Let's go. Yay, yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo, 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 yo. Okay, let me get some stuff set up and let's go. Let's go. Oh, God, I'm so tired. Wait, should I? Oh God, I didn't fill up my water bottle. Fuck. Okay. Okay. Let me set up my playlist. Um. Sorry, I'm just. Um. Sorry, my brain is like dying right now. Drawing steampunk. That sounds cool. I'm just trying to find some fun stuff to do, to play in the background. Yeah, it's just stuff. Fuck, where is stuff I can use? I'd be curious about what. Fuck. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Dude, AI art's going fucking crazy. I hate this. Where is it? Where are you? Where are you? Okay, look at this. Check this shit out. This is fucking insane. This is fucking wild, dude. What the fuck? Alright, so there's this bear. Look at this bear. No, never mind. It's still impressive, though. Like, no matter what you have to say about AI, it's still, like, insane. Yeah. This shit still freaks me out, not because of, like, stuff like this, but more so, like, again, I have this, like, kind of fear about misinfo becoming a huge crazy problem because of AI video. AI video shit is, like, probably the shit that makes me the most worried about the future of reliable information, especially as someone that tries to, like, convince people to check reliable information. It's going to be, like, a lot harder to convince people. And also there's going to be, like, defamation and all this fucking bullshit that's going to be happening. Like, I fucking hate the people that are, like, making the arguments like, oh, what if the AI is gonna take over the world and kill us all? It's like, that's not... No, shut up. Fuck you. Like, that's... Like, no, fuck you. That's not what AI is doing right now. We're not worried about that. You're just some tech bro that's thinking about it in an entirely different way. Okay. This is fucking wild. I do have to agree. Oh, God. What the fuck? What? No.
1920s right wing, which
shut up.
had no love for free speech or even democracy.
Shut the fuck up, dude. No one likes you. Actually, I think you're kind of cool, but no, I was like, what's this? God, that's freaky. It's able to handle like a couple seconds on its own before like distorting. What the fuck? I think one thing to also remember is a lot of shit like this is again made using stolen assets. That's something we had to remember about AI at the end of the day. This is stolen assets taken by people used to make this stuff. This is stolen assets. This is stealing a lot of people's videos, movies, visuals. All this shit is being stolen and not being made in an ethical manner. That is the biggest problem with AI. That's also like one of the bigger problems with AI on like ethical levels, not just like national security or like people's like, you know, being attacked, but just, there's a lot of stuff wrong with AI. But like again, one of the biggest regulations that will have to be implemented to prevent AI from like being used to steal people's artwork is the regulation that you can only use artwork that's either open. Is it open source or is it that's either A, public domain, or B, consensually used, you know? Which I think will be really interesting, and I think it's going to be moments like that that I will be willing to, if we have regulations like that and the AI itself is being retrained to do that too by the people that own it, that will like have to, which will require shutting it down, and that's going to, there's a whole other issue there of trying to convince companies to do that. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of shit you're gonna have to do, like fight back against this. And I think that's honestly, I believe that because it's probably gonna get regulated in the future, companies know this, and that's why they're trying to get it out as fast as possible. They want to make this normalized. They want to make this the norm before it's too late. They want people to be used to it and adapt to it before we can do anything about it. And we have to have regulation. Regulation's going to be very, very important to implement. Or else we're going to be seeing shit like this that's just being stolen until like no one can give a fuck because there's nothing you can do. It's just the norm, you know? That's what freaks me out the most. People then having to like just give up because they don't feel like there's any way out of it. It's still impressive technology. I don't want to get in the way of that. I still think it's really impressive technology. It's just unfortunately being used in one of the most unethical ways possible. Like, so far, all we have for regulation, I think, is, like, they can't use AI unless it's been altered in some way, you know, by you. And that shit's just, I don't know. It's crazy. It's fucking wild, dude. This is all crazy shit. It's so fucking like it's I will admit it is kind of cool seeing this. Again, it's really cool, but it's also just very unfortunate how it's getting made. Like, I think this is really cool technology. I think there's something really cool about this. Especially the fact that it's just made by a machine, you know? Like, there's no actual self-expression. There's no actual, like, creativity being put into this. But there's still, like, something to that, you know? Like, it kind of brings back to Dadaism. Except Dadaism did have the point, which was there was no point. So this is, like, an existential form of Dadaism. And I find that kind of interesting and cool. I just wish it was being made some other way that wasn't, like, unethical. Like, and honestly, I think that would just make AI more cool if, like, there was a lot more human involvement in the process. Like, if you make it regulated, that means people would have to put art in themselves, their own art in themselves, or art collaborated with someone else. Which, honestly, let's be fucking honest, if the moment you have an AI machine and it's heavily regulated and only the artist consent matters, then, like, why the fuck does the artist need you? The artist can just put the art in there, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's pretty cool. What the fuck? So weird. I kind of like it too. I don't know. There's something about these, like, weird people. I kind of like it in a way. I think it's kind of cool, actually, looking at people like this, these weird, strange things. It's gonna be a shame when that's, like, not gonna be as much of the norm. Maybe, like, if AI takes over entirely and shitposts are gonna be made, I could see people still doing that. But I don't know. I think you're gonna have to find a way to, like, make it do that, and it's that point it's no longer a special. Maybe you have to, like, untrain it to get it to do that. I don't know. Also, my fear is, I think anyone else would have this fear, is, like, a lot of our government works around capitalism. So, like, it's gonna be kind of rare for it to, like, allow something like actual meaningful regulations. Like, the regulation of, like, oh, you can't use it unless it's altered. Like, come the fuck on. Really? Really? Like, you think that's actually going to be the thing that solves the issue? Fuck you. That's still heavily more in the corporate interest than, like, actual people's interest. Like, I think the more I think about that law, the more I think it's actually kind of bullshit and just, like, so half-assed and doesn't actually get to the actual issue at hand. Like, unless we have actual, like, real-life regulations, an actual real-life regulation that actually has, like, goes in the core of, hey, you can't use art from other people unconsensually, and you can only use stuff that's, like, either open resource or something you personally made. Also, you have to, like, submit it in and we check it to make sure it is open source. It is either oh god, public domain or something you personally made rather than stolen from someone else, you know? That shit's something that has to be done. Unless we do something like that, none of this matters, you know? Yeah, it's impressive. That's really cool. I think the AI did a pretty good job making that. Too bad it's not a person, so it's not really, like, you know, something someone made, so fuck you.
Last week I put out my Dragon Ball Z.
Alright, a sec. I guess I'll add a queue. God, I keep forgetting. Jesus. I just like remember like I used to live at a place. I don't fucking know. Where the fuck is it? Where's that video? Wait, what? Oh yeah. I'm supposed to be working on a comic right now. What am I doing? I don't know. Seg, I just want to like. I gotta read that manga soon as well. We'll watch that too. Okay. I think that's good. I think I'm good. Fuck, I really want to play this game. A sec. I'm gonna download something real quick. Oh, Rusty, how's your day? Everything okay? What's wrong? With what person you talk? I don't know. I don't remember who I talked to. I don't remember like what I did last night, honestly. I'm just setting up some stuff because some game I talk about. I just want to start simplified version. What's this? Oh, okay. I just want to play the game. Playing TSX. Like on stream at some point, you know? Like I bought it recently, but if I want to actually like play it, I play it on stream, I'd have to, you know, download it. This website represents with the serial experiments Lane PSX game with the aim to provide multi-language support. Make sure these notes before you start playing. Don't be confused about source code on my GitHub. Found an issue dash have suggestions, etc. Use GitHub issue tracker. So run this game offline. Yes, please follow this guide. The offline version contains portable web servers and game content. Beautiful. And sorry for a little spam for my community post. Oh, what? What? Did I post a community post thing? Well, I probably did. Let me see. Oh. No, you're fine. Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to turn that off. It just happened. Talk with person from Twitch? I don't know who that is. Probably. Yeah. I don't fucking know, dude. Probably. Let's say yes. Let's go with the yes for now. Okay, I'm gonna turn this on and then.
Jordan Neely got on the subway at the 2nd Avenue station on May 1st. There, according to witnesses, he acted erratically, threw his things around, talked about how he was hungry, thirsty.
Last week, I
Alright, let's go.
Dragon Ball Z video, and while you'd think 30 minutes of a grown man having an emotional breakdown over a children's cartoon would mean that I'd be done talking about the series, the structure and focus of that video meant that I wasn't left with much room to talk about one of my favorite aspects of Z, the manga. Not only is the Dragon Ball Z manga a far punchier, tightly paced story than either anime, but it also has the distinct advantage of being illustrated by Akira Toriyama, who, as we discussed in our Genius of Dragon Ball video, is very, very good at
Oh, wait.
manga. And in this regard, I'd consider Dragon Ball. When I was about 11, I can remember flicking through the newly begotten digital TV stations.
No, shut up, idiot.
When I was about 11,
Okay.
I remember flicking through the newly begotten digital TV stations on TV, which took our viewing options from around 14 channels to around 400. And at some point, I happened
Before you
to
join your
watch a
stream,
TV show
I see you make
well,
like you
it
talk with
was
someone because of that
it
is
featured a
ask you and
muscular,
talk with person
long-haired
from
man
Twitch.
fighting an
No,
androgynous
sometimes I just talk to
monster.
myself,
Well,
honestly.
all of a
That's what I
sudden,
mostly do.
shockingly, the purple alien was
I'm just
covered in
crazy
by
like
what
that.
seemed to be
I don't know.
his own
I just like to
beard.
talk to myself out loud.
And to put things in context here, this was about 5 o'clock in the evening on Irish television, and to see such a gruesome act, well, it shocked me, and it also kickstarted my love.
Oh, God.
This was also right around the time the internet was becoming readily available in Ireland, and considering no one in my school even knew what anime was, I took to the World Wide Web to find out more about it, and while certainly I found other fans of DBZ online, I was surprised with how much ridicule the show was getting. The characters, the story, the artwork, the pacing. There seemed to be a lot of people online who liked anime.
You eating some crazy hamburgers? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm going crazy.
The quality or lack thereof of Dragon Ball Z. Let's leave
Oh,
that
yeah, I
aside.
forgot. I was gonna work on the,
But something that I think gets lost in that
shit, what was I gonna talk about? Yeah, I was gonna start now on, the character sheet for Rusty, so I can have an easier time drawing her over time. So yeah, let's get back to that.
conversation is the skill of its creator, Akira Toriyama, as well as how much his series has drastically changed the landscape of anime and manga as a whole. And so, to really explore this, I'd like to go back beyond Dragon Ball Z, before Super Saiyans, before Scouters, before Power Levels, and first take a look at where it all began with the original manga. Which, friends, yes, is exactly why we're here today. So what say we kick back, relax, and talk about the genius of Dragon Ball. The reason we're going to be talking about the manga as opposed to the 1980s anime is that I want to highlight how goddamn fantastic Toriyama is at writing a good manga. And we're going to get into exactly why that is, but first, let's take a trip back to the Shonen Jump offices of the early 1980s. I think one thing that's kind of difficult to get your head around now is that in the early days of Shonen Jump, battle manga just didn't really exist, at least not in the sense they do now. The closest thing was probably Fist of the North Star, which has far less in common with the modern definition of battle manga than it would your contemporary seinen action series. And it was around this time that artist Akira Toriyama began working with Shuhei Publishing. He had various short stories published in Shuhei's assorted magazines, such as his Wonder Island collections, and while he had some degree of initial success, it wasn't until 3 years later that he became a weekly author with his first major title, Dr. Slump. And the series was pretty successful, regularly ranking in at around number 2 or 3 in the popularity polls. But Toriyama quickly grew tired of it, claiming that the episodic nature made it uninteresting for him to work on. And so, Jump agreed to let Toriyama work on a brand new series, but only if he could come up with something more interesting than Dr. Slump. And so Toriyama and his editor Torishima set about creating a brand new series, spending 5 days a week working on Dr. Slump, and the remaining 2 days on the as yet unnamed project. And for a period of time, despite the pair's talent and previous success, they had a great degree of trouble coming up with anything they thought would make for a popular series. And so Torishima decided they needed to scrap the project and continue with Dr. Slump. But before doing so, he visited Toriyama for one final pitching session, which lasted late into the night. And just as it seemed like nothing of fruition was going to come, Toriyama's wife, serving the pair tea, remarked how she thought it was unusual how her husband would watch old kung fu movies while drawing Dr. Slump. And this was the eureka moment between the two. Torishima figuring if Toriyama liked Kung Fu movies so much, then Toriyama's next project should be an
Yeah.
series. And so, the seed of Dragon Ball was planted. It kind of blows my mind to think how if Toriyama's wife hadn't brought the pair tea in that one moment, the landscape of modern manga and anime could be drastically different. After running a successful prototype chapter in the form of the one-shot called Dragon Boy, the pair set out in shaping their new series to suit a long-form story. And so it was in 1984's issue 51 of Shonen Jump magazine that the very first chapter of Dragon Ball was published. Early Dragon Ball has this great road trip vibe to it, with Goku and Bulma having to find places to camp, eat, and also getting into the various martial arts based encounters the series would later become so famous for, as they search out the 7 Dragon Balls, which, once gathered, will grant a single wish. The story, at least in the beginning, has a decidedly small-scale charm to it, resembling far more Dr. Slump's episodic-based comedy than that of the long-form storytelling of Dragon Ball Z. And these early chapters are charming as hell, mainly down to how fun it is to watch the different characters bounce off one another. Goku, Bulma, Krillin, Lunch, Master Roshi, all these characters have a particular tone and personality to them. And I think what really sells them is the terrifically expressive artwork. I think Dragon Ball, far more so than his later work, is where you can really see one of Toriyama's strongest aspects, his exceptional character designs. He seems to have an effortless way of working all the fundamentals of good visual language into his illustrations. Each character strikes a clear, readable silhouette, and are all constructed from shapes in a way that play up their core personality traits. Take Goku, for example. I think if you were to break down his character into 3 fundamental parts, you could say he's innocent, energetic, and powerful. Now let's look at the first illustration of him from the first page, and see how Toriyama has represented these 3 different aspects. He has the proportions of a small child, and that goes some way in showing his innocence, but maybe even more so, look at the soft shapes that make up his body. There's no hard right angles, just gentle sloping curves. And curves have the effect on our brain of signaling youth or a lack of danger, as they generally naturally occur in younger creatures like babies, puppies, and kittens. And so a curved line can give off a gentle, more playful feeling than that of a jagged one. And this is a principle that carries across through all design. Even look at how different an effect it has when a room is constructed from curves as opposed to one constructed from harsh angles. Toriyama has used this.
Yeah, what is about this video? It's about Dragon Ball. It's an anime. And it's about like the original origins of Dragon Ball. I'll turn up the volume a bit.
A wild, jagged pattern, which signals to us that there is an edge and an energy to Goku's personality. Like, okay,
No.
this is gonna look a little silly, but just watch how different a
Age
vibe he
becomes for
gives
us all.
off if we take away his spiky hair. See, look at this fucking nerd. And then finally, the power aspect of his character. Some of this comes from his chunky little body, but generally Toriyama is great at showing power and solidity through a character's pose and gesture. Case in point, just look at the wide, stable stance Goku has taken here. Because of how well drawn it is, it means you can feel Goku's weight going down into his feet. His low center of gravity making the little guy feel stable and immovable despite his tiny size. And so, with subtle visual cues like this, we get a character who all at once feels innocent, energetic, and powerful. And you can see this same mastery of visual language in so many of the characters from Dragon Ball. Like, look at how Master Roshi's body is just a giant square, meaning even though he's drawn as an old man, there's still a strength and a solidity to his character design. He also plays off the juxtaposition between characters. For most of Dragon Ball, one of Goku's primary visual factors is how small he is. And again, this makes us subconsciously think of cute things, but also, whenever he faces off against a much larger opponent, it creates this great David versus Goliath aesthetic, making us root for the little guy all the more. This same mastery of visual language extends even into the machinery of Dragon Ball. Generally, machines in most medium are drawn to look very angular, as to express their manufactured nature. But
The
check out how
lore!
even cute
The
a lot of Toriyama's
lore!
machine designs are. His deftness with these design elements is what gives Dragon Ball's world such a fun and bouncy feel throughout. and is one of the primary factors in it being such a pleasure to read. There's definitely a conversation to be had about how Toriyama's style evolved into the more angular, rigid look of DBZ, but let's leave that for another day. If you want to see more of his fantastic character work, then look no further than the excellent Dragon Quest series, where Toriyama did all the monster and character designs, or even check out the classic Super Nintendo RPG Chrono Trigger. I especially love the work he's done on the character designs for the main party here, the various divergent timelines they come from, all tied together by Toriyama's terrific artwork. However, while Toriyama's exceptional draftsmanship goes a long way to making his early work so endearing, simply being a great illustrator is only about halfway to becoming a great comic or manga artist, as you still need to know how to structure a page of a comic and to make the story flow for the reader. Kotaku ran a pretty interesting article on this last year based off a report by the Japanese website Nikaido Renji, which broke down how Toriyama uses a Z pattern and careful placement of each individual visual element to guide the reader's eye, and showed how even a subtle change to the layout, like moving a speech bubble, can completely break the visual flow of a page. But I think where Toriyama takes this concept even further is how he portrays time in each individual panel. This might sound a little weighty, but hear me out here. Let's look at the panel from chapter 36, the fight between Krillin and Bacterian. At first, it might seem like you're looking at a still image, and you are, certainly, but check out what happens when we follow the visual instructions Toriyama has laid out for us. We start here in the top right corner, as one does when reading Japanese manga, and immediately the speed lines take us down the path of Bacterian's punch, which ends with him swiping at air. Then we follow Krillin's speed lines up, concluding on him, letting us know that he has dodged the attack. And while you could look at this image as portraying a single instance in time, really, if we follow the flow of the illustration, what we're actually getting is two events happening in sequence. One Bacterian's punch, and the second Krillin's dodge, thus creating a sequential event from a single image. And you can see this same technique at work in so many of Toriyama's panels, even playing around with the sequence of events in order to alter their effect. Structuring it like we see here gives the impression that Krillin dodged Bacterian's punch right at the last second. But check out this panel, where Jackie Chun dodges first and Yamcha's attack follows, giving the subtle feeling that the wily master is several steps ahead of the younger, less skilled fighter. And so, when you take into account Toriyama's draftsmanship that allows him to create such bold, expressive artwork, couple that with his ability to imbue each panel with a sense of timing and movement, and then structure all that within a page layout that just seamlessly flows, what you get is one of the finest technical examples of any manga. As important as the visual component to Dragon Ball is, there's still one other major factor that we have yet to touch on, an aspect that once added, skyrocketed Dragon Ball's popularity to heights from which it never returned. Up until about chapter 28, this has been a relatively simple story about Goku and Bulma looking for Dragon Balls. But then, Goku and his newly begotten rival Krillin begin training under the invincible old turtle hermit, Master Roshi. They have to deliver milk on foot wearing these massive weighted turtle shells, dodge angry hornets while tied to a tree, and swim through vicious shark-infested waters, all with the purpose of training their body and mind so that they can become strong enough to enter the strongest under the heavens world martial arts tournament. And while these chapters are a lot of fun, when you look closely at them, you can see the focus of the story slowly start to shift. These chapters introduced the very simple but absolutely fundamental concept of growth to Dragon Ball's story. This was a mainstay of many
What you
sports
draw
titles
now?
at the
Oh,
time,
I'm drawing the
but it never
reference
really
sheet for
developed
Rusty.
into a
For
series centered around
Rusty.
action. Much more common were these
So I
straight
can
up
have an easier
badass
time
characters
working
like
on some
Kenshiro,
projects.
who would generally dominate their opponents with little to no effort. But now we had Goku, a child who was not always strong enough, who occasionally lost fights, someone who would get their ass kicked, but was going to get up the next day in order to train and try again. And hell, I think that's a fantastic thing to write a story about, and a message that deeply resonated with a young Japanese audience, taking Dragon Ball from around rank 6 to 8 in the Shonen Jump popularity polls to a consistent number 1. This concept really is, to me, the spirit of shonen-style storytelling. That it's okay to lose a fight, that it's okay to fail once in a while, because all you really have to do is get up the next day and try again. And do that enough times and you'll eventually get there. You'll become whatever it is you are meant to be. And certainly you could argue that later series took this to ludicrous extremes, and that there are other titles that have taken this concept further and executed on it better. But regardless, I think it's fascinating to go back now and look at where it all began. And to me, this is the genius of Dragon Ball. Friends, I want to thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video and would like to help me create more like it, consider heading over to patreon.com/supereyepatchwolf, where for a single $1, you can become an official member of the Super Eyepatch Wolf Pack, and see your name listed with these fine citizens right here. A huge thank you to friend of the channel Rebecca Reynolds for once again providing the fantastic illustrations for this video. You can find her at Let's Hopscotch on Twitter or check out her Tumblr, link in the description below. A huge source for a lot of this video is a fantastic 2016 Forbes interview with the editor of Dragon Ball, Torishima. I'm going to link it down below, and if you have any interest in battle manga or its history, this is a fascinating read I would highly recommend. I will, of course, be back soon with another video, but in the meantime, you can come hang out at the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast, or come find me on Twitter at Eyepatchwolf. Friends, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Last week, I put out my Dragon Ball Z video, and while you'd think 33 minutes of a grown
Let's see,
man
do you
having
want to
an
see
emotional
one video on
breakdown
how
over a children's
to make
cartoon
Yu-Gi-Oh!
wasn't gonna be
Make one
done
Marvel
talking about the
comic?
series, the structure and focus of that video meant
I know
for
how that
me
guy-
to
I know that guy did
talk
that,
about
but,
one of my favorite aspects of Z.
You can send that. I probably won't
Not
watch it
only
right now,
is the
though.
Dragon Ball Z
I'm pretty
manga a
busy
far
focused on
punchier
this right now.
time-paced story than either anime, but it also has the distinct advantage of being illustrated by Akira Toriyama, who, as we discussed in our Genius of Dragon Ball video, is very, very good at drawing manga. And in this regard, I'd consider Dragon Ball Z his strongest work. Z is a very different kind of story from Dragon Ball. With Dragon Ball, Toriyama was still trying to write a comedy adventure manga for an audience that was increasingly demanding action and combat. And you can see this in a lot of the designs. Many of the characters from Dragon Ball don't feel designed to fight, with short, stumpy limbs and oddly proportioned bodies. And while this juxtaposition of cute character designs and combat is a large part of the appeal of Dragon Ball, it did cause Toriyama some problems, in particular in Goku's design, as Toriyama would often have to stretch and elongate Goku's short, stumpy limbs just so he could make contact with his opponents. And so, much to the ire of the Shonen Jump editorial staff, Toriyama made the decision to age Goku's design into a fully proportioned adult, repurposing the character for the new, more combat-centric direction of the story. And you can see this same change in philosophy in every design in Dragon Ball Z, with the softer line work of Dragon Ball giving way to the cleaner, more angled, harder look of Z, with a much stronger focus on depicting the musculature of its characters, as well as power through its illustrations. And while I do find Toriyama's softer artwork more charming, I don't think it can be argued that the latter is more effective at conveying the weight, momentum, and impact that are so important to the many fights of Dragon Ball Z. The fight scenes in Z are always ferocious, desperate affairs. While many of the fights in Dragon Ball were contests of skill, these are now vicious life or death battles, and Toriyama's artwork has evolved to reflect that. There's an expressiveness to the artwork of Z that was not present in Dragon Ball, bringing to life all the pride, rage, and pain of these characters with an unflinching clarity. And it really helps tell the story of these battles, making them feel less like standard throwaway encounters and more like violent emotional affairs between two characters who both really desperately wanted to win. And the increased focus and scale of these encounters means that Toriyama is able to fully showcase his exceptional ability to convey action through manga. The way I see it, there are two types of manga artists, and what separates them is how they utilize the medium of manga. Of the first group, I'd count artists behind series like Fairy Tail, Fire Force, and Death Note. I'm not criticizing the artwork or story of these series, rather just the fact that they don't use manga to do or say anything that couldn't be done and possibly done better by a competent anime adaptation. Of the three I've mentioned, Death Note is probably the prime example of this. While the drawings are very good, the paneling and layouts are extremely basic. Mostly just simple page designs consisting of 5 or 6 panels of characters' heads talking and speech bubbles. Which, while perfectly readable, doesn't use any of the strengths inherent to manga in a way that isn't directly recreatable in other mediums. Of the second group, I'd count artists like Katsuhiro Otomo of Akira, Hirohiko Araki of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Junji Ito of Uzumaki, and so much more. These are artists who seem inherently focused on leveraging the advantages of manga and using it to deliver an experience that's entirely unique to any other medium. Whether it's the way Junji Ito controls a reader's anticipation through page turns, or Otomo's remarkable ability to control action and flow through nuanced paneling. Even completely divorced from the quality.
Yeah, it was made by the guy who made Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually, it's pretty cool.
Virtue that reading them feels so good. And the reason for that is that these
It's really
are
cool.
artists who understand the technique behind page layout, paneling, and composition, and know how to use these techniques to control a reader's attention and guide them through a page. Check out this page from Akira. Even completely out of context, the way the page is laid out combined with the strength of the individual compositions means that even isolated from the actual overarching narrative with all the text removed, the page itself tells a perfectly readable story. And this is something Toriyama himself has actually commented on. Speaking in an interview with the Japanese publication Wired, he said, "As a rule, you can understand the content to a certain extent with just pictures, and words are nothing more than a supplement to them." To put it a different way, there's an invisible guiding language to manga, in the same way there's editing in filmmaking or gameplay design in video games. And finding artists who can take advantage of this language and leverage it to enhance every aspect of their story, this is why I still read manga, despite how much I love animation. And the argument I'd like to make today is that no one has a better grasp of this language than Akira Toriyama. What makes Toriyama so special as a mangaka is his ability to tell these visual stories through his fights, combined with his ability to portray action through comics. He'll often take the time to illustrate very minute moments of a fight and establish a sense of narrative through them. There's one instance of this I really enjoy from the Vegeta vs Imperfect Cell battle, where Cell lands an attack on Vegeta and Toriyama dedicates nearly an entire page to Vegeta turning his head
it's so
and
good.
stabbing at Cell. It's such
Oh,
a
it's
minor
so
moment, but
good.
by letting it breathe like this, it so effectively conveys the story of this fight and each character's place within it, in a way that would be impossible through just dialogue. But it's this subtle level of visual storytelling combined with his ability to convey action that makes Toriyama's manga so goddamn special. Generally, comics are not the place people go when they want to experience action. So much of the excitement and energy of an action scene comes from the conveyance of movement and force, something that's quite difficult to capture with still images. But despite this, movement has always been a big part of Toriyama's work. We talked a lot about his ability to create sequential stories from a single image in our previous video, but that technique has been evolved and brought to new heights in Z. One of the biggest differences between the combat in original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is that now every character has the ability of flight, which opens up a world of possibilities in terms of the specific combat scenario, but also greatly increases the complexity of the movement of its characters, as fighters can now attack each other from 360 degrees, which could be very difficult to convey through manga alone. But watch how Toriyama has
That's
evolved
weird.
his sequential
Okay.
imaging technique to solve this problem, and in particular in this page from the Frieza saga. The key here is how Toriyama uses Vegeta's energy trail to guide our eye through the events of the page. Our starting position is here, where the path of Vegeta's punch takes us down through the first panel, exploding off the side of Rakum's skull, and guiding our eye down to the starting position on the second panel. And from here, the energy trail shows us Vegeta's first position in front of Recoome and leads our eye in an arc as he circles directly behind his collapsing opponents, while also bringing us neatly to the starting position on panel 3 and again guiding our eye down the path of action as he dive bombs his unsuspecting foe. If I just let my eye fall on this page, my gaze travels down through the composition without any conscious thought for myself, and yet each beat of action registers clearly in my mind, and that focus is never broken by me wondering where my eye should go next. Just look at how less readable this page is if we remove Vegeta's energy trail. If you want to see more about this aspect of the manga, the channel Bryhard has a great video on the subject that I'll link in the description below. It's with this technique that Toriyama is able to communicate a genuine sense of speed and velocity through his work. But I think just as impressive is his ability to bring that action to a crushing halt with his exceptionally done impact panels. What I find so interesting about these panels and what makes them hit so hard is Toriyama's use of anticipation panels before them. Anticipation is a principle more commonly talked about in animation than comics, and is basically conveying to an audience that something is about to happen before either fulfilling or subverting that expectation. And Toriyama uses this principle to imbue his impact panels with a genuine feeling of weight and force. Check out this page from the Namek saga of Recoome kicking Gohan. It's a beautifully done page and an exceptional drawing, but watch how dramatically more impactful it feels when we bring in the previous page in the spread, and specifically this panel right here, where Gohan's attack whiffs and Recoome dodges upwards, drawing his massive leg back in preparation for the oncoming attack. At this point, Toriyama's dedicated basically an entire page to a simple attack missing, but in doing so, he's given us all the information we need to understand Recoome's specific position in relation to Gohan, meaning our minds can now fill in the empty space between the two panels, and as a result, we feel the exact path Recoome's kick has travelled and can understand how he's twisted the full crushing weight of his massive body into Gohan's neck with this attack. So essentially, what Toriyama's done with this spread is use this brief moment of anticipation to create the feeling of real...
Anyway, how's your day so far? Doing good? Jesus. No, that's not till later. That's not till, like, the stream's almost over. I'm gonna refill my water bottle real quick. I'll be back. Ugh, God, so tired. Dude, Jesus. It's gonna be one of those days. God. But now it's time to piss. Piss time. Big piss. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's get to work. Okay. What's this? Okay. Fuck. No. No music. Only video essays.
Real genuine movement and force. And by comparison, the same instance in the anime lacks that same level of impact, as it plays down that moment of anticipation, robbing the attack itself of the show-stopping finality it has in manga. So what Toriyama is able to do is use manga in a way that is completely unique to the medium to create a genuine sense of velocity and action, and then bring that action to a crushing halt using anticipation panels to foreshadow giant impactful moments. And it's all brought to life with the beautifully distinctive artwork, and it's the combination of these elements that make Toriyama's manga so enjoyable to read. Still to this day, if I pick up any copy of Dragon Ball Z, I can lose minutes or even hours purely by virtue of how good the manga is at drawing me in and controlling my attention. And what I think is interesting is when you compare this aspect to the manga with that of Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super, or Cho, is the follow-up series to Dragon Ball Z, created 18 years after the conclusion of the original, with the series now being overseen by Toriyama, who would provide the plot outlines and character concepts, but actually illustrated by Toyotaro, a young manga artist who got his start in the industry by writing and illustrating a popular Dragon Ball Z fan comic called Dragon Ball AF. I think for a guy who basically started out drawing DBZ Dojinshi, Toyotaro has done incredibly well for himself, and I don't feel all that good about comparing him to one of the greatest manga authors of all time, but I feel like there's a point to be made here. Without making any comment on the story or artwork, what really stands out to me about Super is the lack of underlying technique in its layout and construction. The same grasp of visual storytelling just isn't there, and neither is that hyper-considered sense of design that makes the original so enjoyable to read. Compare this page to the page we'd previously discussed, and notice the complete absence of any flow or any unified sense of design among the panels, and just ask yourself, which page is your eye drawn to more? Rather, each panel by itself just feels singular, to be consumed and then moved on from, and as a result, it's missing that intangible underlying spark that made the original so special, meaning it just feels like what it is, a Dragon Ball Z fan comic. I only raise this point because I think it's only in reading Super did I realize how important this aspect was in my experience of reading Dragon Ball Z, and how it contributed to the unique and ultimately rewarding experience rereading the manga was. If there's one thing my Twitter feed has taught me since the release of last week's video, it's that people have very strong opinions about what way Dragon Ball Z should be watched. And while the Funimation dub is always going to be my preference given it's the version I grew up with, I think any fan of Dragon Ball Z owes it to themselves to experience the manga. Not only because this was the spark that would later result in the impacts that Dragon Ball Z had around the world, but because it's one of the greatest mangaka of our lifetime expressing his story in a way that only manga really can. Friends, thank you once again for joining me today, and I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my glorious patrons who, as ever, made this and especially the previous video.
What's that game?
I sometimes get asked, Hazel, how do you find all the anime and manga you cover? And while I'm flattered to be a bitch people think of as having the hookup on the weird and forgotten, I'll be the first to tell you it's nothing all that special. I keep my ear to the ground. I have lovely friends who know a lot about things I don't in order to fill in some of my blind spots, but a big part of it is just sort of knowing how to get search engines to deliver the goods. Sites like AniList have some really robust search
Oh
features.
my god,
like,
Jesus.
I can search for OVAs released between 1990 and 2002, sort by popularity, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and dude, why do you look like that? Virtual Star 2000. I'm gonna have to look into that at some point. Ooh. Now what's this? Arisa Good Luck? Oh man, I bet this is gonna be a pain in the ass to find. Oh wait, no, it's just on YouTube. Oh man. This is some good crust. What is this? Like 144p? No sub either, no surprises. Alright, let's go. There's a beauty to going into shit this obscure, completely blind. Before hitting play, I was like, alright, this is probably gonna be hentai or something, but by minute 6, I figured it must be some arcane Bishoujo game adaptation like Two Heart because it was so quiet and plodding. In a good way, I mean, it's got a very simple energy about it that makes it feel very peaceful. And then the magical girl transformation happens. Word. Even the transformation happens over like dentist waiting room music. It's so jarring. While it was pretty easy to follow narratively, a hapless girl is transformed into a magical girl by her older brother, hijinks ensue. The whole thing has this hazy quality to it, where it doesn't really draw attention to itself, per se. The music is all a bit more down-tempo than it ought to be. The sound mixing's pretty scrappy. Stuff just kinda happens. It ends really abruptly. Watching it in dog shit resolution at like 3 a.m. in my pitch dark apartment really added to this mysterious air. Upon credits, a rush of questions washed over me. What even is this? How, when, and why did it get made? Who's behind it? What, if anything, is it based on? How is it distributed? Why is this upload in such low quality? Is it available in higher quality elsewhere? Of course, none of these questions were especially easy to answer, and nearly all of them carried with them their own unique rabbit holes that needed getting to the bottom of, culminating in the discovery of several actual pieces of lost anime and manga. So I did what I had to, because who else was gonna? It had never been scored, let alone reviewed on my anime list. Anime News Network didn't even have a page for it. The comments on the upload I watched were mostly incredulous at how the uploader even knew about this at all, and that an anime so obscure even existed. Nobody in the English-speaking world seemed to know a damn thing about it. After a whole lot of research, a handful of international purchases, the gradual loss of my grip on any remote sense of reason, and the aid of literally every computer I've ever owned, I can present
Oh no,
to
the
you
big ol'
my
eye anime?
findings
Yeah.
and much more on Arisa Good Luck, the nearly lost indie anime.
You ever watch
It's
anime
worth
growing up?
noting that an anime with a Bishoujo art style being so undocumented despite being from as late as 1999 is twofold a rarity. When you look at the landscape of lost anime, it's predominantly TV anime from eras like the 60s and 70s where preservation efforts were nearly non-existent and home media releases weren't yet a thing. So for an anime from the late 90s released exclusively to physical home media to be so elusive is already strange. Then factor in that most of the more obscure modern anime out there are children's shows or otherwise feel less like what we think of as being quintessentially anime style in their given day, and Arisa feels all the more like an anomaly. The only details English language resources have for this 28-minute OVA was that it was directed by Kageyama Shigenori, its original story concept came from illustrator and doujinshi mangaka Ramiya Ryo, and that the titular lead Arisa was voiced by a young Horie Yui. They tend to list one of two release dates, 1999 or 2001, which seemed odd to me at first, but here's the scoop. Initially, Arisa Good Luck was produced for a VHS release at a Komiket in the back half of 1999. Komiket, for those not in the know, is a twice-annual otaku convention for the buying and selling of fan works in Japan. Later, it was released as a DVD on June 25th, 2001. That alone was a mess to confirm. As if I wasn't already thrown off by all the different dates being tossed around, one Japanese Amazon review said the DVD was released before the PS2, even though the PS2 released in all major territories in 2000. It doesn't stop at dates either. Database websites are confused about this thing no matter the language. One Japanese site labeled it R18, and there was a good second where I was like, that could be possible, and that the R18 stuff was trimmed from the release I saw. That's not the case though. This thing is clean as a whistle. It also doesn't help that Google is bad at filtering out those aggregate sites that just pull information from other sources, so I kept finding identical listings that occasionally had some broken syntax that made me think there was maybe some new information present. It's some Metal Gear Solid 2 shit. I even thought that the news group Rec Arts Anime might have some info on it, because back in the day there were monthly threads cataloging every new Japanese home video release, but nah, nothing. News groups were mostly dead by 99, so it makes sense. It took finding pictures of the DVD and VHS themselves to 100% confirm the dates and some of the staff alone. Which, okay, this thing was for sure released on these two mediums. Why is this rip in such poor quality? Like, I was watching this upload thinking it was released exclusively for some early form of online video streaming or something. A standard VHS kinda sorta contains 240 to 250 horizontal lines of visual information, and even if this is 240p, we're not getting those horizontal lines of visual information unobstructed. It's straight up going Game Boy Advance video mode. DVD's kind of a gamble resolution-wise, but again, it's not gonna come out of the box this artifacted and compressed unless something went horribly, horribly wrong, right? That upload dubiously claims what I was watching was a VHS rip done by, quote, anonymous Russian rippers. However, there's a similar yet marginally higher quality upload over on Nico Nico Doga. Don't worry, it still looks like ass. In 2012, someone uploaded a torrent of Arisa to Nya, but it's an FLV file, and it's barely over 60 megs, so it probably looked about the same as the Nico Nico upload if it wasn't just ripped straight from Nico Nico. Thankfully, there's a tier of obscurity where something is probably technically rare, but so not sought after that you can get it for cheap if you can find it at all. For reference, this OVA is still extremely obscure in its home country. That Nico Nico Doga upload had less than 4,000 views after nearly 15 years on the site. That means I might be able to find this thing on secondhand sites, because my goal from the start was to get this thing available in higher quality. So I start scouring eBay, Surugaya, Mandarake, Yahoo Auctions Japan, Rakuten, Amazon Japan, Book Off Japan, and in a good handful of these sites I find old listings for the DVD from all the way back when it was new, but unsurprisingly they're all marked as out of stock. I'd seen the occasional expired listing archived on Google Images, but for now that was the closest I could get to the DVD. However, on Mercari Japan, I see a listing for something I hadn't even seen photos of up to that point. The fucking VHS. Listed 17 days before I found it, and for dirt cheap. I have never placed an order so fast in my entire life. In fact, I placed that order so fast I did not stop to consider what promotional could actually mean in this context. What if it isn't the full OVA? I figured, well, the listing could be describing it as some sort of advanced copy. Technically, you could call it a promo for the DVD, or even for Ramia Rio's body of work. Maybe promotional in this context more accurately means limited release. I don't know. I'm not an expert on how exclusive VHS releases for the Comiket market are usually packaged, but the fact that it was just a shrink-wrapped, otherwise naked VHS just kind of made sense. Why splurge on a fancy case when it's just an indie production, right? Well, either way, the reality was I was stuck waiting until it shipped to my proxy's facility and then was shipped from there all the way overseas to little old me. The next day, I did another round of searches.
Shaman King and
trying to
Afro
be a bit
Sam.
more thorough,
Oh no,
and
the big ol'
oh,
Shaman King and Afro
there's the
Samurai
DVD
and
on Yahoo
Naruto.
Auctions.
Those are good ones. I haven't seen
I
Shaman
think,
King
you know,
yet
this
though.
was
I need to
listed
watch
so
that one.
Shortly before I
That
found
one
out
looks
that
pretty fun.
Because of the time zone gap, it
Or
was
maybe read it.
listed
I don't know.
tomorrow, like the day after I bought it from where I was standing. I later realized it was an automated relisting for something that had been up for years, but shit, it was the real deal. That was a big relief. Not only could I get a DVD rip in much higher quality than a VHS, it didn't matter if the VHS was the full thing or not. This left me with about a week and a half before both arrived and I could get to digitizing and archiving them, so I used that time to fill in as many of the holes in my knowledge as I could. In the 90s, there was a wave of popularity for telephone cards. They're basically prepaid cards that could exclusively be used for public phone calls.
Oh no no no
The big
no
draw
no
is
no
that
no
these
no
have
no
art
no no no
with
no
all
no
sorts
no
of
that
different
looks really
characters and
bad.
properties on them, so you can think of
No,
them
that looks
collectors.
really bad. That looks like
Arisa
two
had
nut
3 of them
sacks.
released, limited
Fuck
to
that.
just
Holy
500
shit, that's
units.
weird. That's way
And
too
here
separated.
they are. I know, I thought the same thing. Why on earth would you
Looks
want
sus,
something
yeah.
this explicit in your wallet? What's interesting, and what threw me for a loop, was the fact that the cutoff date to order these was in September, which is before the anime actually came out, which means these were promotional? More on that later, though. In addition, a bunch of the sete is available online. Concept art, character sheets, props, locales, etc. If you ever want a glimpse at how much thought and consideration goes even to the most modest anime production, definitely take a look at some sete sometime. That being said, I couldn't figure out where these would have been released. You can find sets for sale online, but if these are secondhand photocopies directly from the production or were made specifically for sale, I'm not sure. One other thing that was still eluding me by this point was the specifics of Ramia Rio's involvement on this OVA. I saw as many sources cite that this was an original story of hers made exclusively for the anime as I saw claims it was based on a doujin work of hers. That is to say, like hardly any of either, but enough to throw me off. The exact wording in the credits doesn't really clear too much up either, since Gensaku can either be a credit to the creator of a source material, or the person who came up with the story concept for the work in question. Oh boy. Thankfully, Ramia Rio is a
We got
pretty
lucky it's
beloved
not
figure
coming
in the doujinshi
now
world,
YouTube and
meaning
slap
a
with-
lot of her work has been
with put down
cataloged
this
and
stream.
even archived in full
Sure.
online.
No, as long as
So
I don't do
thanks to
nipples, I
that,
think
I
I'm
can
fine.
confirm that she does
think.
not
Probably.
have
I'll
any
fucking-
doujin that Arisa Good Luck
Till
was
then,
based on.
we'll keep
So
going.
it was a fully original story of hers, made from the ground up to be an OVA. However, I want to shine a quick spotlight on the lady. Ramia Rio is quick to be described as the wife of fellow doujinshi artist Utatane Hiroyuki, and while I think it's extremely cute that these two are a little professional pervert couple, Ramia's body of work absolutely stands on its own as well. She got her start all the way back in April of 1986. Happy 36th anniversary, Queen! Though her body of work largely lies in the world of black and white 18+ doujinshi, her website says that she's been given the title the Goddess of Color Illustration. And fucking yeah! This is 100% where she shines most in my opinion. As far as 90s Bishoujo art is concerned, she's the cream of the crop. Her colors are soft but deliberate, the gradients are astonishingly clean and even. A lot of her work looks almost airbrushed.
Keep making
even though I know
stomach
it's
zone a
not.
little more
I
big.
love how she
You think so?
situates collage
Yeah,
elements into
maybe.
the compositions for illustrations. That's a lot of texture without
This part,
distracting from
yeah,
the main
it might work
focus.
better.
Okay, I'm just gonna run through some of my favorite
might,
pieces from her art book Lunarium. This piece is breathtaking. The colors are so much more restrained than her work normally is, and in doing so, perfectly captures the almost otherworldly glow of a cold, foggy morning. I also just adore this one. There's nothing better than Art of Anime girls lounging around the house. What are those in the background, in those jars? Like bay leaves, dried chilies, and jumbo shells? I don't know about you, but I trust her to whip up some Iron Chef shit with just those 3 ingredients. Bark at the moon. I want to go to Jenny's coffee shop. I love how her art looks on this rougher, darker paper. Watching texture come through in the lighter, less saturated parts of the image is really appealing. I can't neglect her eye for fashion, too. She knows just the right balance of colors, shapes, and accents to really pull an outfit together into something cohesive and iconic, even if it's just for a single piece. My wife and I were geeking the fuck out over this art book. It's mostly safe for work, so there's a link among all the other sources I used for this video down in the description. Also in the description is a list of the songs that I use in the background, but it's beside the point. As for her doujinshi work, yep, it's doujinshi. I don't really have anything to say about what I browsed. It is what it is, which works out because it's not like I could have shown much either way. Handy dandy. There's like a lot of lesbian stuff in there, which I never really got why that wasn't more common in ero manga from the early Bishoujo days. Like, the girls are the whole appeal. That's why we're all there. Cut out the middleman. I'm partially joking, of course, but it's funny to compare to, say, the later moe boom, where there are tons of anime and manga that don't feature hardly any men at all because nobody could really figure out how to fit boys into the moe art style without really femming them up. The closest thing I can think to this is the Ixer 1 OVA swapping a character's gender, which people speculate is because drawing men was a weak point among the staff. Anyway, Rami has kinda done it all. In addition to manga and anime, she's also contributed art to 2 different games. She did some character designs for Guardian Recall, which was released on both the PC-98 and PS1.
Yeah, I might do that. Don't worry.
From her doujin circle. This thing is pretty fucking ambitious. There are a ton of cutscenes, and in the PS1 version, they go the whole 9 yards and have anime FMVs, which, man, this looks about the same as the quality I watched Arisa in. Jeez. I couldn't get very far in either version of the game, unfortunately. The menus are really layered and dense, and it's all kanji, so no go. Thankfully, the visual novel database has a thorough character breakdown for the PC-98 release. Same sister. Shouts out to the single unhinged English language review of the PS1 version on GameFAQs from all the way back in 1999.
Busty babes try to save the world. Almost 20 big, busted, pretty faces get together for a just cause. From different provinces/islands of Japan. What do you get? A game titled Guardian Recall. The game is a Final Fantasy Tactics / Cardia style RPG with a twist.
The game is okay.
Providing you enjoy seeing boobsy females fighting their way to victory. Along the way, catching a few laughs or so. Rating 9 out of 10.
The second and more important title in Ramiya's gamography is 1994's Half Moon ni Kawaru Made, which is based on a compilation of one-shots by the artist from a year prior. In a way, it acts as a greatest hits for her body of work in that regard, complete with, as is always the case for PC-98 games, god-tier pixel art. The game was developed by Cocktail Soft,
Okay, I
who
need
most
Soft.
famously made the Welcome to Pia Carrot series. On that note, it's also a greatest hits for the PC-98 eroge. This was before the visual novel format became the reigning king for Bishoujo game presentation, and things were a bit less codified. See, the game is broken up into 4 smaller games, designated by their female lead. You got Suzuka, Eve, Bunny, and... what? Titus?
What the fuck is that?
Eve's Route is the era's standard point-and-click affair. Titus's almost plays out like a digital comic after a single branching dialogue menu, but the other 2 are the most interesting and were my favorites. Bunny is centered around this cute little whack-a-mole minigame, and there's inexplicably a progression system that makes it surprisingly compelling. Meanwhile, Suzuka's is this whole-ass mini RPG, which was a lot of fun. It's bare bones and clearly set up so you'll just barely eke out a victory on your first try, and like Bunny's route, it made for something I gladly took the time to work my way through in one sitting, which was pretty easy, even barring the language barrier. Don't get me wrong though, for as cute as I find this, it's still very much so a PC98 eroge. A bunch of skeletons. It's not beginner shit. Suzuka's route is interesting because the source material would also go on to spawn an R18 OVA from 1996, Karakuri Ninja Girls. I always think it's cute when doujin artists are diligent about linking all their works together in some small way. I, of course, watched this OVA. The American box art boasts an English dub featuring 2 adult actresses, and,
Gee, what's going on? Why does she want to bring me back now? Good. At least the eggs are safe after all that.
Welcome home, Fawn Belle.
it sure sounds like it. Honestly, Trisha Upton's performance as Suzuka is really cute.
Fawn Belle, get ready!
Whoa! No, I said no! Cut it out! Stop it! Ah!
But for some reason, the dub changed Suzuka's name to Fawn Belle, a loose interpretation of the kanji that makes up her name, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was just to spare the actresses from having to pronounce Suzuka. Like Ramiya's doujinshi, it's not like there's much to say. It's hentai, although like Ramiya's doujinshi, it's just that bit more charming than it has any right to be. Like, this isn't my first rodeo. A lot of hentai anime can be weirdly miserable and bleak, but this was kind of sweet in its own way.
And all I wanted was to just spend time enjoying the cherry blossoms with you. Petals lightly colored, flirting against the night sky. It's so romantic.
Also, the music was done by a group called Bang Heads. All of this is to say, Ramiya Ryo fucking owns. I've come to really love her stuff, and I'd never have even heard of her had it not been for Arisa Good Luck.
I'm on
Although her name isn't really even top billing.
my
as
5-minute,
collective memory
2-minute
is
break.
concerned. It was directed by Kageyama Shigenori, who's well renowned for being the main animator on the cult film Birth, as well as doing key animation for Windaria. I wouldn't put much stock in this, but I found it interesting that Shigenori did some work on the Pia Carrot 2 OVAs, sometimes under a pseudonym. Yeah, the ones that were adapted from the Cocktail Soft games. It makes me wonder if that tangential connection, Cocktail Soft developing Half Moon with Ramiya, Kageyama adapting a Cocktail Soft game, is how the two got acquainted in the first place. But the biggest name attached to this anime is Horie Yui. I think it's safe to say there was a while where she was one of the most famous and beloved seiyuu alive, at least among otaku. This has made all of her performances before her work on Love Hina considered her breakout role uniquely coveted among her fans. Despite every mention of Arisa Good Luck, without fail also mentioning Horie, her filmography is so massive that Arisa even falls wayside among her other early works. Like, Horie Yui is so popular that just being the tiniest of footnotes in her career is enough to keep a piece of media from being doomed to obscurity. That's bananas. I need to
Oh my god.
But Arisa Good Luck being released exclusively for Komiket initially is pretty weird in and of itself. I'm pretty sure. This is a difficult subject to research, and comprehensive resources on the subject of original animation produced for the convention don't seem to exist. When you go looking though, you'll see the Toho Dojin OVA from 2008, by far the most famous. You might find the 2011 Atlanger OVA or the 2012 OVA helmed by Raita of Katawa Shoujo fame? Word. I guess this shows my areas of knowledge a bit, or maybe my age or whatever, but Raita isn't exactly of Katawa Shoujo fame to most people. He's much better known for his work on Fate Grand Order, but He's the Katawa Shoujo guy to me. Okay, I do not know what the deal here is, but while doing research, I also found multiple announcements from 2010 that voice actress Yuzuki Ryoka was to be producing and starring in a completely independent OVA for Comic-Cat 79, but I could not find any information on it from after its release. See, the hard thing about Comic-Cat is that most of what's sold there is deliberately produced for that Comic-Cat, and for that Comic-Cat only. It's not that these goods are meant to be disposable, but that they're purpose-built for the moment. That fleeting, electrifying quality is part of the mutual allure. Which is what makes knowing if this supposed anime got released or was even made hard to feel out. Which, like, I spent way too much time hunting for this thing and I've got no idea. If you think that's off topic, you should be afraid of the tangents my research takes me that I don't talk about. What's interesting about these is that they occupy an interesting sweet spot, the late aughts and early 2010s, right before the rise of original net animations replaced the need and desire for these sorts of OVA releases. Which means Arisa is one of the only of its kind that I could find from the time it was released. I'm gonna guess this is because the OVA market was quite lucrative through the 90s and lost a lot of their appeal in the 2000s as Digipaint made anime cheaper and more efficient to produce, and as the rise of premium cable networks created a home for more transgressive content to be distributed more widely. Still, it's a pretty common thread that anime produced to be sold or even screened at events like Comic-Cat have a bad habit of being endangered, so to speak, nearly lost. Like, look no further than the fucking Daikon 3 and 4 animations. Jesus Christ. It wasn't until 2021 that we got a proper 8mm transfer of the former, which is just mind-boggling to watch after years and years of watching it at the lowest resolution imaginable. Oh shit, they're here. Uh-oh, mid-video Patreon break moment. I just want to say thanks to everyone who's currently supporting my work. Being able to branch out and make videos that require a budget has been a lot of fun and has resulted in some of the work I'm proudest of, and it wouldn't be possible without the folks whose names are scrolling on screen. Which, to do some housekeeping, this is actually going to be the last one of these I do. This is a really incredible problem to have, that there are enough people supporting that I can't hardly fit everyone in these sections without it being a lengthy unbroken text scroll that kind of fucks with the pacing. I reached out to all my current patrons to see how they felt and got a lot of warm, thoughtful responses that largely confirmed what I currently felt about the way patron rewards are structured. Namely that the text scroll doesn't seem to be of utmost importance and that most folks seem to prefer being able to contribute to the post-video Q&As. It also confirmed to me that I really do value, above all else, keeping my Patreon to a single $1 tier that includes any and all bonuses, which means I won't bump up any rewards to a higher tier. Chalk it up to a background in DIY music. For as long as it's viable to do so, I'm gonna continue doing whatever I can as accessible and as sponsor-free as possible. This isn't a standard I hold to anybody but myself, just what feels right to me. So I was touched to see how many responses seemed to innately understand that and feel the same. Alright, they're out of their boxes. Let's take a look at what we got here. Wow, wait, I don't think I noticed that this DVD case was pink. Like, it's that way in the listing, but every other picture of the DVD I can find, and that includes other listings, has a white case. So, I'll be straight up, I have no clue if this is original or not. Like, the DVD itself is, the insert as well, but specifically the plastic case. There's no damage to the insert, so I don't suspect the case had to be replaced because it broke, although it could have just been the part that holds the DVD in place. It's worth noting that from what I could observe, the inserts are identical on both my version and the ones with white cases. My most rational guess is that pink DVD cases weren't available from the manufacturer when they did a second run, or vice versa maybe. When my music label Pop Spirit produced cassette tapes for my friend Thor's album Positive Yellow, we had to use different plastic shells each time because the place we ordered the tapes from ran out between batches. There's no information about any other products distributed by Warner Media Vision on here. This leaflet on the inside of the package is standard info on how to handle a DVD. You know, don't scratch it, don't put it in the microwave, don't use it as a coaster, don't let your dog play with it. As for the VHS, wow, yeah, it's still shrink wrapped. The first thing I noticed is that it's really light, almost like there's not very much tape in it. Let's compare this to my bootleg copy of Dragon's Heaven from the storefront Comiket 85. Obviously there's no affiliation here, I'm just stoked that this exists at all. Link in the sources. This thing is noticeably heavier, and, well, you can see the amount of tape in there. Looks about right for a 30-minute OVA. Obviously, this Arisa tape doesn't have any clear plastic, but because it's such a light color, shining a flashlight through it should show me how much tape there is in here. Man, yeah, that's hardly anything. This is definitely promotional, but that rules, actually. Like, if I'd been unable to find the DVD, I'd be disappointed, but that means this trailer was previously totally lost. The one thing that bums me out is that because I still don't have the VHS version in full, I can't confirm if there are any introductory advertisements that were cut off from the uploads online. I wonder why the actual VHS is so elusive. I looked through sold listings on Mercari, I used reverse image search, I scanned through Twitter tags, and wait, what the fuck? What the fuck, there it is! In the reply to another tweet about the promo VHS. I wasn't even gonna make anything of the original tweet and move on because they specified the image wasn't taken by them. So, okay, cool. Confirmation the real deal was released in a clamshell case. Good stuff. Alright, it's time to rip these guys. After doing some tests with a spare VHS I had lying around, I got things where I needed them and ripped the promo tape using my capture device. I'll be the first to say this could almost certainly look better. I didn't use any fancy upscaling, and my VCR only has composite output, but it's better than what was already online, which was nothing. I didn't get the chance to watch it as it was being ripped, aside from staring with bated breath to make sure it actually ripped properly and that my VCR didn't devour the tape. And I didn't watch it in full on the tape afterward because I know tapes start degrading from pretty much their first play, so rewound it, put it somewhere safe. Now, onto the DVD. This one was a bitch. Which is funny, right? The newer tech was more of a pain for me than the ancient deteriorating analog hardware. I'll admit some of this is down to me being a fucking idiot. Like, for all the depth I was able to put into researching in a language I don't even speak, for as readily as I was able to put a clip of this anime on a fucking Game Boy Advance cartridge for a blink and you'll miss it gag, I earnestly forgot DVD region locking was a thing when I went to capture footage of the intros and menu using my PS3. This was the first place I went because, of course, nothing I own has a fucking disk drive anymore. MacBooks haven't had them in like a decade at this point, and when I built my computer, I went, when am I ever gonna need a CD drive? I'll save some money by passing on it. Yeah, well, I bought one for this video, but it didn't arrive on time, so I had to dust off the last computer I owned with a drive, the Windows laptop I had in high school. Then I couldn't get whatever ancient version of Handbrake I had on there to rip a copy-protected DVD, so then I busted out my previous MacBook and a proprietary external DVD drive I literally didn't even think worked, and bada bing bada boom, here it is. Literally a day after I finished writing and recording and cutting together the audio for this video's script, and well after I'd ripped and scanned everything, the channel that had Arisa uploaded to YouTube removed that upload and replaced it with a higher quality one. Fuck. I thought to myself. That kinda negates both the work I put into getting a hold of the DVD and part of the video's very premise. I literally
Alright, thank
have
you.
nightmares
Have a good
about
day.
this kind of shit. Zero exaggeration. And, uh-oh, the uploader insists that this is in the best possible image quality. Fucking hell. Well, let's take a look. Oh, this looks like ass. Cool. Alright, let's bring in my rip. It's a good bit better. Like, it's not mind-blowing or anything, but it's a good bit better. All I'm saying is, if you're gonna claim you've got the best possible image quality on your hands while maintaining the utmost confidence to outline a manifesto on how to be a real anime fan, I expect you to be able to back up your claims at least a little bit. No excuses. So, as for the contents of the DVD, I don't think there are any animation differences. There are some shots in the YouTube and Nico Nico uploads that seem particularly herky-jerky, and that's true too of this version. Makes sense, it'd be wild if they bothered to polish the animation at all for a release this minor. Even right from the DVD, it doesn't really look amazing. I'm pretty sure that for some fucking reason the frame blending was built into this thing. I told Handbrake to capture it at the native frame rate, and that was 30 rather than Animation's usual 24. Also, for some reason, yeah, the anime is widescreen, and this is true of every version. So while its native resolution is 480p, the actual resolution is more like 360p. Still, I'm happy with the quality, knowing there's no way in hell we'll ever get any big dog 4K 35mm transfers of this thing. So I'm happy to say that both the promo and the anime in full are now on archive.org. Links in the description. Okay, now that all that technical work is done, it was time to actually sit down and watch this promo. Oh god, what the fuck? God damn it. Everything I thought I knew was bullshit. The entire timeline I've been working with is incorrect. I'm gonna have to throw this whole video out and start from scratch. What the fuck is this about a manga pack? So everybody online was wrong. At the end of the Arisa Good Luck promotional VHS, a bit of text and narration from Horie are played.
本編のビデオは10月末日にお送りしますので楽しみに待っててね。コミケの後でも購入申し込み受付中です。
This, I believe, roughly translates to the main story will be sent at the end of October. We're preparing a high-quality work. Just a moment, please. Even after Komiket, there will still be applications for ordering. The manga pack is still available for ordering. It costs 9,000 yen and will include a telephone card with the same illustration as seen on the package. The deadline for application is the end of September 1999. Please refer to the attached leaflet for how to apply. Now, I need to show you something I've been withholding. In addition to the Arisa VHS and DVD, I also bought a CD-ROM that contained information on all the groups and artists participating at 1999's Winter Komiket. Komiket is held twice yearly, once in the fall and once in winter, so if the release date mentioned on the back of the VHS and in the promo tape are right, October, and if online discussion of the anime to be believed, the OVA in VHS format would have to have been sold at Komiket 57, which was held in late December. After installing a virtual machine for Japanese Windows XP and ripping an ISO, I took a look at this little piece of software. It's a blast. Super rudimentary, but seeing documentation of where the otaku scene at large was at in this particular moment is really elucidating. Of course, this isn't an archive of all of the works themselves in full, just lists of what was going to be there and where. Unsurprisingly, there's a ton of Two Heart Doujinshi, a good bit of which features Akari, but of course the vast majority is multi. There's maybe even more King of Fighters yaoi though. There's like so much King of Fighters yaoi. I love it. Also, here's this WWF doujinshi by the artist who made this sign at a wrestling event you might have seen online. I don't really know anything about wrestling, but like that's gotta be the same artist. Thankfully, there's a robust search feature too, so I was able to confirm once and for all my suspicion that this is the Komi-Cat where Arisa was sold. So I search, and I search. Arisa, good luck. Arisa, good luck. Ramia Rio, Hiragana, Katakana, Romaji, Kanji, the studios involved, Warner Vision Entertainment, Buzz, Edit 90. I even searched the name of Ramia's Dojin Circle, Ouroboros. Nothing. Arisa Good Luck was not released at Komi-Cat 57. Arisa Good Luck was not released at any Komi-Cat. Here's what I believe actually happened. At some point in 1999, prior to August, Arisa Good Luck was announced, probably in some hobbyist magazines and online, perhaps by Ramia herself, maybe even at one of last year's Komi-Cats. In this initial announcement, it was slated to release at that year's first Komi-Cat, Komi-Cat 56, running from August 13th to 15th. However, for one reason or another, in the run-up to C56, the staff working on the OVA realized it was just not going to be ready in time. Whether the animation itself wasn't yet complete, or because there was some kind of clerical snag, or maybe even because they didn't have the funds to finish the job. So they cut together a promotional trailer to distribute in its entirety alongside an apology that it wasn't finished as promised. And this was, like, extremely fucking down to the line. How do I know this? The manufacturing date listed on the promo VHS is August fucking 6th. Literally 1 week before that Komi-Cat. They also produced applications to pre-order the VHS by mail with a maybe optional deluxe edition, including some telephone cards and a manga in order to sweeten the pot a bit. Arisa Good Luck's VHS would go on to release on October 30th, 1999 via mail, 2 months after Komi-Cat and 2 months before Komi-Cat 57, where it was not shown at all. Flash forward to June 25th, 2001, where it would be released to the general public via DVD, retailing for a whopping 4,800 yen. Let me make clear that part of this is educated inference, so for the sake of transparency and being thorough, let me give you a facts-only timeline of events. Arisa Good Luck had a promotional VHS available at Komi-Cat 56 that contained a trailer for the full anime that also apologized for the full release's absence. At this event, you could pre-order the OVA or take home an application for mail order. It would release on VHS by mail on October 30th, 1999, and 2 years later it would see a retail release on DVD. The reason I suspect the anime was announced prior to the event but went unfinished is because of that apology. I've read a lot of Japanese ad copy at this point, and that particular phrasing is very specific and bizarre. There's not really any other way to interpret that than we're sorry, we were supposed to have it done by now, it's still coming, don't worry. This clears up why there's more documentation of the promo VHS out there than the actually released VHS. Again, goods released at Komi-Cat have a fleeting quality to them. You're there to spend money in the moment, so it's likely if these promo VHSs were what was for sale at C56, otaku were likely to buy them and not go on to subsequently pre-order the full thing. There are still, after all this, 2 things I'm not clear on. It drives me insane that for as much research as I've done, I've hit a dead end in these 2 regards. First, I don't know if the telephone cards were required to pre-order for this VHS, or if it was an optional upgrade. I lean toward the former personally, slightly, although 9,000 yen in 1999 money seems pretty steep an investment for a 28-minute OVA from an unproven studio starring a still relatively unknown voice actress. However, if we could confirm this fact, we would know that there were only 500 copies of the OVA produced on VHS, although that in and of itself wouldn't exactly confirm if the OVA in that format is more or less rare than its promo. More importantly though, what the fuck was that about the manga pack? If you've been hung up at all about my use of the word lost throughout this video, your heart may now rest easy because we have actual ass lost media on our hands. Dojinshi.org has nothing listed for Arisa Good Luck, nor anything that resembles an even tangential connection to the work from Ramiya Ryo, or anybody else from her circle, Ouroboros. Given how ungodly thorough that site is, this means one of three things. 1. A pack-in manga was promised, but was never delivered. I find this extremely unlikely, given how much controversy that would have stirred if the anime had been both delayed and did not deliver something fans paid for. Flat out, it would have tarnished Ramiya Ryo's reputation, and the anime would have lived on in infamy. It'd be unable to escape from that legacy. I've seen greater backlash from smaller transgressions in Japanese fan spaces. 2. The manga that was packaged in with Arisa was a previously released, unrelated Ramiya Ryo doujinshi. This is entirely possible, especially if the manga pack advertised was decided at the last minute to help sell pre-orders. But if it was planned from the get-go, it could go either way, which leads me to 3. It is currently lost. No scans, no archives, no documentation, no photos, no listings anywhere. If this is the case, it's a bit of a Schrodinger's doujinshi. We won't really know, even if a VHS copy of Arisa gets listed tomorrow, because there's no mention one way or the other on the packaging. It was probably just shipped with the anime, so unless someone bothered to keep them together all this time, which would be weird, since I don't know about you, but I organized my VHS tapes separate of my books, it's likely they wouldn't be sold or even photographed together. Barring getting confirmation from someone who had a hand in its production, or an otaku with a vivid memory of Komiket 56 specifically, it's likely the only way we're gonna know that it exists is by finding it. So I'm stumped, and I guess at this point, I have to leave it up to everyone watching who feels inspired to do so. Although, I expect the interest in hunting for this thing is going to be fairly minimal. The language barrier makes hunts for lost media and manga pretty unappealingly difficult. It's harder to get in touch with creators because so few are even online at all. Many wouldn't dare risk the repercussions built into distributing these works under a copyright system that's far stricter than what we have over here, and Japanese fans simply don't have the same approach to lost media as us. The ethics are just, across the board, more complicated. Which works out because literally right after the original version of this video came out, like barely 2 hours after, I got a tweet that cleared literally most of this up. Clarification time, yes, this is a re-upload. The content of this video remains unchanged, so no bits and pieces of lost media anywhere in here. The original release of this video was such an unmitigated fucking nightmare that I just needed a do-over. First of all, I realized YouTube had, for some fucking reason, downscaled the upload of Arisa I had on my second channel from 480 to 360. I think this is because the actual resolution was a few pixels shy of 480, not 100% sure. It also just totally fucking wrecked the quality. Like, Jesus, look at this. It looks like the 360p upload I was just criticizing. Mind you, that version was definitely uploaded at 360p rather than just being munched afterward, but either way, the version I had uploaded was just not fucking acceptable under any metric. I re-rendered it at exactly 640 by 480p, but this is obviously still not a totally optimal rip. I was a little more haphazard in that regard than I ought to have been, so keep in mind that this version that's on YouTube and that appears throughout this video is not the end-all be-all for quality, although I'm sure plenty of you already know that. If you want that, head over to archive.org, because I didn't really make it clear in the video that my intention was to also get an ISO rip of the DVD as well as an MKV of the thing. I would have done it sooner and mentioned doing so in the video, but I was only able to install this DVD drive a few days ago. I thought I had a SATA cable somewhere, but nope, I had to wait for one to ship. So the ISO and MKV are both on archive now. Some of the shitty frame blending is still baked into the DVD itself. I definitely could have used better settings in Handbrake, but I watched a bit of the OVA from the DVD and you can absolutely still see this blending going on. I suspect, as a commenter pointed out, it's likely this DVD was made from an analog master tape. The sort of rainbowy sheen and interlacing are usually characteristic of this, if I understand correctly. In an older video, I attributed those qualities as being innate to Laserdisc, but that was just more me shooting the messenger, so to speak. So there's a double correction. I guess this is common for a lot of early DVDs. Rather than getting a clean digital transfer of the original reels, it's just pulled from a tape that's like 2000s TV broadcast acceptable, but not so much for resolutions achievable by a DVD.
Alright, I'm gonna go for my walk. Where is it? Hey. Finally finished that part. Takes me way too long to work on these parts. I don't know why. That was really fun though at the end of the day. Holy shit. I enjoyed myself a fuck ton working on that. But yeah. It's time to get ready and work on my comic tomorrow. Oh no, I want to finish this reference sheet first, and then I'll feel more comfortable. Mostly I'm working on some stuff around I don't know. God, I need a shave. No, stop it. I think I might shave before I go out for a walk. I got a lot of time anyway. Alright. Fuck yeah, I got my phone. Wait, alright, I'm gonna mute myself real quick. Fuck it. I'll be back. Okay, I'm gonna relax. Jesus. Holy shit. What time is it? Oh, God. Fuck, dude. Holy shit. I guess I'll just play some Bomberman for a little bit. Why is it not showing? Oh, yeah. Where's my towel? Oh. It's right behind me. My headset. Okay. Yeah, and then I'll work on the commission. And then I'll fucking know, dude. I'm just really fucking tired. It's so hot out, dude. Holy shit. It sucks. It sucks how hot it is lately. I want to have a... Oh, God, I want to go. That's fine. Oh my God. Holy shit, it's so hot. Hotter than your mom when she's nude. In the nude.
So forgive me both for not being more upfront about my intentions to get a better version online and for not knowing more about this stuff. Learning about audio video is kind of a nightmare, honestly. It seems like if you want any specific info on the subject, you kind of just have to dive headfirst into a bunch of complicated terminology that's all equally difficult to Google for and often not even directly relevant to what you're searching for. Understandable since it's so niche, but it's hard and sort of alienating for me. I'm doing my best, but I probably should have reached out to some people who knew better than me. I just didn't want to be a bother. Story of my life. That was really only problem number one, though. Like I said, 2 hours after my video went live, someone found an archive of the website of a little-known company called
God damn it.
Manga Pack. Yeah, I should have known. In my defense, searching Manga Pack in Japanese just nets you, well, packs of manga. And furthermore, Manga Pack's name is nowhere on the DVD nor the promo VHS, and it's not visible anywhere on this single photo of this pamphlet I was able to find. Although the phone and fax numbers are the same, I really doubt those are still in use, though. Midnight Hazel here. I'm currently looking at the credits on the promo VHS, and Manga Pack's name is listed in the credits scroll. In fact,
That's
it is
so
the
funny.
last name that comes up. The kanji there is too mangled for me to get anything out of, but it probably just says distribution because Manga Pack was the distributor for this VHS specifically. So
Jesus.
I probably should have. I should have paid closer attention to that. It would have saved me a lot of work. No, the person who found this searched Arisa Good Luck homepage in Japanese, followed a few links, and took a trip to archive.org. That
Oh my
is
God.
so smart.
This is so
I never
fucking
would have
annoying.
considered that. Well, now I know. Small bit of info, but it's interesting to me that the description given for the OVA here is different than the one on the DVD case, which is copied all over online listings. There's also a poster available for sale for 3,000 yen.
Damn it.
There's a little signature from Ramia Rio there, although it's not clear if each one has been
God.
hand
Okay,
signed
fuck
or
it.
if it was just
Not playing
printed
this game
on.
for a while.
I assume the latter because they don't make any mention of the signature anywhere. Looks like I was right in my assumption that 9,000 yen seemed excessive for a VHS from 1999, because the 8,000 yen this VHS costs includes shipping. I definitely should have known that there was a possibility some spots would spell Arisa as Alisa, although it wouldn't have helped much since it was relegated to a website that's totally offline either way. I need to make it clear here that this isn't a website where you can order the OVA. It just contained instructions on how to mail order it. Thanks to a slightly older archive of the site than this one from November of '99, I can confirm that Arisa was being advertised at MangaPack's own booth in August Comiket. Quick aside, yes, August Comiket is considered summer Comiket. I feel extremely ungodly stupid for getting something so fucking basic confused, especially because I was born in September and should know that it is still hot even by September. I don't know, chalk it up to me being dyslexic and confusing autumn with August my entire life because so many of the letters are the same. I am sorry. Good news though, my timeline was right, in that they expressly stated the release was delayed on MangaPack's
Why is it not showing up?
Fuck yeah. What can I say? Woman's intuition. It was absolutely supposed to be sold at Summer Comiket 56. But of course it couldn't just be this fucking simple. On their website, they say that if you pre-order the OVA, you'll get a bonus telephone card. Right, sick, we've been there. It also fucking says you get a promotional tape ahead of the full OVA's release. What the fuck? If that's what I have, why does the tape inform you that you can still order the full tape after Comiket? You would have to have pre-ordered the OVA already, right? I have no fucking idea. Maybe there's a second tape. Maybe they put that information at the end for posterity's sake. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Is there like a stream
I'm at a
settings?
complete loss here. I was fucking begging for this to clear everything up, but one sentence managed to complicate things further. I'm going to posit my two theories on what all this means. It's possible that the contents of this video were produced to be displayed at CRTs at the event, but because they already had those contents, they decided to also package that up in smaller VHS tapes to send out as a further apologetic for the delay. It's also possible that, given that the website describes this bullet as for people who are still looking to order, that the tape would be sent to folks who missed it. Maybe those ordering at Comiket got the tape right away or could purchase it there separately, but for those who weren't at the event, they could still get the promo tape ahead
That's so
of
weird.
the full
That
OVA's
sucks.
October release.
Okay,
I'm going to run with the
whatever.
assumption that there was only one tape, Occam's Razor, and it hurts my heart less. I'm so exhausted, man. I literally had a fucking post-breakup shaved head moment over this video. I fucking dyed my hair the night I pulled the video for re-upload, which was yesterday. After spending all of the rest of the day doing another fucking round of research and writing. Let's just get back to the rest of the video. Which begs the question, why the fuck did I bother with this? Because I'm not some Horie Yui superfan. I'd never even heard of Ramia Rio before discovering this OVA. And furthermore, let's face it, this thing is mid. I could have made a YouTube video about literally anything else. But I think William Gibson, of all people, said it best.
The otaku seem to me to be it's kind of very pure expression of hunger for information, even if the information is essentially meaningless.
Damn.
That's really only part of the answer, though, really. It just doesn't sit right with me to let things be forgotten just because they aren't colossal victories or colossal failures, you know? It doesn't sit right with me to let the hard work of a whole team of people run the risk of slipping entirely into
where is it?
unavailability. Because at any point the channel that had Arisa uploaded could get taken down for copyright infringement for any other upload of theirs any day, and likewise goes for the Nico Nico upload. I feel like this thing deserves the dignity of a higher quality transfer, because the loss of fidelity is still loss, as I've said. I'm not on some David Lynch, no iPhone movie theater vuvuzela shit.
Fucking telephone. Get real.
I
Dude,
love
where the
watching
fuck is
things
my
in dog shit quality, and like I said,
there
the dog shit quality
No,
Arisa
it's
added
not the
to the
glove.
allure for me. In part, I think of it sort of
Fuck
like
you.
the texture archaeology boom that happened in the wake of the Nintendo Giga leak, if you're familiar. It's about context. Moreover, though, the degradation of visual clarity is tantamount to the erasure of the hard work, the blood, sweat, tears, and often come put into even the most easily forgotten anime out there. Deliberate brushstrokes and line work get reduced to something
God,
just
I need to
merely
find
implying
my
for your
fucking
image rather
glove.
than getting to be the sum of its parts.
Oh, God,
Animation
where
is
the
an
fuck
industry
is
where
it?
the work is to
Jesus.
bleed yourself dry for your creations, even if just
Oh my
to get
God,
paycheck
it
to paycheck.
sucks.
And that's enough for a work to deserve to be captured in totality in my eyes. As far as I could tell, Buzz's only production
where the
was Arisa. Everything else they did was
fuck are you?
grunt work,
Where the fuck
mostly
are you? Where the
entertaining
fuck are you?
coloring
Where the
and
fuck
peanuts
are
for
you?
Digipaint TV anime from 03 to 06. This, to me, signals that Arisa was their one shot at getting to home projects with any sort of regularity.
I'll be back. I'm just gonna... I'm gonna have to look for my glove. And that sucks, but whatever. Fucks. Fucking happening. I might have to check outside the room real quick. Sorry, y'all, something just came up. I got in stream early. I know where the glove is, though, so don't worry. I'll be good. Yeah, that was... Holy shit, yeah. This is actually a really fun part. I won't talk about it. It's mostly just family stuff. But yeah, this is nice. See ya.